The family of Ibrahim Shahin and their 3 children were participating in an espionage operation, according to the espionage operations documented in the Egyptian intelligence documents. They were residing in Al-Arish when Israel invaded the city in 1967, after which they relocated to Cairo. Every element of life in Egypt was affected by the activities of these spies. They gave the Israelis crucial information. For the benefit of governments or organizations, they gather and analyze sensitive information. They carry out covert operations, infiltration, and other forms of surveillance to obtain information about prospective threats or to their advantage. Because of the often secretive nature of their employment, it calls for extreme discretion and professionalism. They could work covertly or assume different identities. They need a high level of skill, training, and mental toughness for their work, which can be dangerous. Their practice frequently involves emotional deceit and manipulation. The Musa family, like all rural Egyptian families, had a ceremony for the birth of their new daughter, whom they named Inshra, in the town of Minya on the western bank of the Nile River. This took place in 1937. After the ceremony, that day's chapter was closed, and nobody anticipated that it would be reopened. Inshra entered school and persisted with her studies until 1951, when she earned her middle school diploma. Inshra achieved marriageable age at this age, or 14 years, and in accordance with the local customs in that town. During that time, she first met Ibrahim during a family member's wedding. Abraham hails from the North Sinai city of Al-Arish. He was 8 years older than Inshra, and given the happy mood, it was appropriate for them to make eye contact. After making her a marriage pledge, it wasn't long before Ibrahim and his family were over to make a proposal. When her mother lamented the distance between Minya and Al-Arish, Inshra agreed to the marriage. Ibrahim transported his wife to his city after the wedding. He was one of those people who was eager to boost their income by legal or illicit means. He was employed as an accounts employee in the Al-Arish district. Additionally, he was a party to bribery instances, one of which landed him a 3-month sentence. He lost his work and went into unemployment when he was released from prison. The couple gave birth to 3 children between 1955 and 1966, Nabil, Muhammad, and Adil. To complete their studies away from the itinerant environment that defined Al-Arish, the 3 were relocated to an uncle in Cairo. Ibrahim and Inshra continued to converse face-to-face about their oppressive financial situation. Israel conquered the Sinai Peninsula alongside other Arab lands in June 1967. Israel then began to block up the roads, and the only way to travel between cities and towns was with the military government of Israel's authorization. Ibrahim and Inshra also started to suffer because they could only get to Cairo by authorization, making it nearly difficult to see their 3 kids. Due to the limits that Israel placed on them, many started to experience hunger. Ibrahim Shahin's condition and that of his wife deteriorated as he could not meet even the most basic requirements of the home, and Al-Nashra insisted on seeing her children. Ibrahim Shahin went to the Israeli military governor's office to ask for permission for him and his wife to visit their children in Cairo. Israeli intelligence was attempting to use the difficulties caused by the occupation to recruit persons who could operate as its eyes and ears. Ibrahim often went to the Israeli governor's office but was only faced with delays because getting the permit was difficult. He complained about his condition and his hunger to a military governor's office officer one day. That officer called himself Abu al-Na'im, and he promised Ibrahim that he and his wife would be granted permission to visit their children. He also gave him a bag of flour, some sugar, and tea. But Ibrahim continued to visit Abu al-Na'im for several days without receiving the clear statement. The military governor had given him and his wife permission to see their children in Cairo, so he was astonished one morning to hear someone pounding on his door and requesting him to come to Abu al-Na'im's office. Ibrahim and his wife received the most joyful news that morning. However, the officer made him aware of the terms of this permit and requested that he provide him updates on the cost of fruits and vegetables in Cairo as well as other details regarding the state of the economy of Egypt as observed by his brother, who worked in the import and export industry. Ibrahim understood that the terms were straightforward. He would provide them with the costs of all consumer goods, and if they needed more, he would provide it. Ibrahim was unaware that additional tests would be given to him after passing the initial one that Israeli intelligence gave him. The Israeli military vehicle arrived at Ibrahim's home the following day, and the person inside asked him to accompany him to the security office. He was met by an Israeli officer who identified himself as Abu Yaqub. Ibrahim remarked that the Israeli occupation welcomed him in a way he had never known. He informed him that Abu al-Na'im had given him wise counsel. Abu Yaqub instructed Ibrahim to travel to Beersheba, where the primary security office with a focus on Sinai affairs is based. Following a lengthy and convoluted talk, Ibrahim Shahin was eager to do anything Abu Yaqub asked of him, and Ibrahim knew what was needed in Beersheba. The Israelis waved to him, which would not have occurred to him if he had assisted them in gathering information about Egypt. He received a warm welcome from them. They gave him $1,000 and offered him life insurance before they went. Good luck to him and his family in Arish. Ibrahim Shahin became a spy for Israel before he left Beersheba. It was only natural that Inshra would inquire about his source of income when he returned home to Al-Arish laden with gifts and money she had never seen before. He claimed the Israelis promised to provide him with a travel permit within a few days and gave him $1,000 as a reward for revealing the whereabouts of a hiding Egyptian fighter. She gave him a big hug. "Isn't what I did a betrayal?" he asked, looking into her eyes. She replied as she looked at the gifts he brought. In any case, the Israelis would have captured that guerrilla. She was silent for a while, then added, "And even if you did not point it out to them, there was someone who would master their place and take the reward." Mossad agents put the spy Ibrahim Shahin through extensive training. He learned how to gather information from friends and family members nearby, how to write with secret ink and reveal what was written in such ink, and how to tell the difference between different types of aircraft and armaments. Additionally, he studied how to spread misinformation and advocate for anything that made fun of the Egyptian military and its officials. They pledged to protect him even in Cairo and even taught him on the types of interrogations the Egyptian security services might put him to. He was a quick learner and successfully completed the training. Inshra was curious in her husband's activities and his earnings more than anything else. When she once questioned him about what the Israelis wanted from him, he replied that they wanted him to give them the prices of fruits and vegetables and that they would pay him $200 for each message he sent them as they prepared to fly to Cairo. It seems alluring to her. She instructed him to show her every message he wrote and to erase anything she didn't believe relevant so that she would feel better about him. It was her way of telling him her desire to be his partner. Then she was able to penetrate his new world partner. Ibrahim and his wife, Inshra, benefited from being transported from Al-Arish to Cairo via the International Red Cross in late 1967 when the Egyptian government moved the offices of the Sinai governorate there. Even nevertheless, Ibrahim Shahin was given his prior job back. He was given a job and started gathering and organizing data. Along with drafting reports for him, Inshra assisted him. They mentioned Moses and Dinheim by name. Ibrahim Shahin had to provide another source of income to allay suspicions because he and Inshra and their 3 children appeared to live in a manner that was not consistent with the pay Ibrahim received from his job. He was successful in his apparel and electrical appliance trading business. He would lavish his employers at work with presents and cash thanks to the money he had, and he would skip work without having to give an explanation or face consequences. In August 1968, Ibrahim and Inshra traveled to Beirut by ship under the pretense of trade before boarding a flight to Rome. The Mossad official in charge of overseeing their work in the Italian capital had scheduled an appointment with them. He presented them with 2 Israeli passports. They flew to Tel Aviv, where Israeli intelligence agents welcomed them at the airport. They stayed in a lavish villa in Tel Aviv for 8 days. The 8 days served as a brand new training session for detecting different types of aircraft, armaments, taking pictures, and gathering information. During the visit, Inshra was promoted to first lieutenant under the name of Dina, and Ibrahim was given the rank of colonel in the Israeli army under the name of Musa. All of this inspired the spies to help Israel more. The 2 spies brought thousands of cash back from their trip. They had to widen their social networks and gather as much knowledge as they could on daily life in Egypt, the army, its tools, and other security services. Egypt was engaged in a battle of attrition, which the Israelis refer to as a 1,000-day war. Israeli planes bombed civilian targets and deep inside Egyptian targets in an effort to put pressure on the Egyptian government and subjugate it. While the Egyptians sought assistance from Soviet specialists and air defense weapons, the Israelis were employing contemporary American Phantom aircraft. The Mossad-funded spies Ibrahim Shahin and Inshra Musa traveled in a brand new vehicle during this time. They were visiting the areas hit by Israeli aircraft, collecting images of the casualties and damage, and transmitting them to the Mossad along with a thorough map. Nabil, Mohammed, and Ada were recruited by the two spies in order to demonstrate their diligence in intelligence collecting. They were tasked with providing all the details regarding the parents of their classmates who were employed by the police, the military, and businesses and trades. When compared to the faces displayed by those military, security, trade, and industrial guys, what they delivered was full of secrets and portrayed distinct faces. Children would sneak into homes to investigate items that were not visible from the outside while posing as friends, classmates, or exam prep students. The October 6 war was planned in 1973 in total secrecy and with Egyptian and Syrian coordination. The Israelis felt really let down. The spies Ibrahim Shahin and Inshira Musa found no evidence that Egypt was prepared to attack Israel. Ibrahim was asked to meet with the deputy director of Mossad in Tel Aviv at the start of 1974 after the conflict was over. He defended his inability to locate proof that Egypt was getting ready for war by claiming he lacked the necessary tools. He was told at that meeting that he would receive the most recent transmitter on the market, which was worth $200,000. To encourage him to work more, he was informed that his monthly wage would be raised to $1,000, and that if he succeeded in revealing the date of the next war, he would be given $1 million. The new transmitter was delivered to Inshira at kilometer 108 on the Suez Road by Mossad after being carried to Egypt. However, they were unable to use the transmitter during the initial experiment. It was discovered that one of the keys had a flaw, and after Ibrahim was unable to fix it, Inshira traveled to Israel to purchase a replacement key. Egyptian intelligence has a wave hunter, a Soviet-made technology that allows them to track covert correspondence, to combat the growing espionage activities in Egypt. The first time the new Israeli technology was used, it was observed. It was simple to keep an eye on the area where the device was situated. A security team arrived at Ibrahim's home early on August 5, 1974, encircled him, and then took the spy and his 3 kids into custody. 3 weeks were spent keeping an eye on the home by Egyptian intelligence while they awaited Inshira's arrival from Tel Aviv. Several signals were sent on the transmitter by Israeli intelligence while it was being repaired. As soon as she arrived, she was detained and her transmitter's key, which she had carried with her from Tel Aviv. They considered it necessary for them to reply to Mossad's messages. Lieutenant Colonel Ibrahim Shahin and First Lieutenant Inshira fell into our hands, according to a telegram they sent. Greetings to your Director of Intelligence, Mr. Eli Zaira. The 2 spies, along with their 3 boys, were put on trial for espionage against Israel. The eldest son Nabil was given a life sentence with hard labor, while his brothers Mohammed and Adil were transferred to a juvenile detention center. Ibrahim Shahin and Inshira were also given death sentences by hanging. Ibrahim Shahin received his sentence, and Inshira, who was released with her 3 children as part of a prisoner and detainee exchange agreement, had her sentence delayed. Inshira and her kids started a new life. After betrayed their country, they changed their names and their religion.